Thank you for joining us today for EMCA's Doing Business in Greece Part 2 panel discussion in association with the HEPA's Hellenic Cultural Commission and HANC. My name is Lou Katzos, the president of Jekmar Associates, EMCA's president and chairman of HEPA's Hellenic Cultural Commission. Our panel will be moderated by Konstantin Drougos, the managing director of Agro Marketing and EMCA vice president. Our distinguished panel today includes Rhode Island State Senator Lou Raptakis, Dimitris Triandafilidis, CEO of Meliortemas Development, Kyriakos Loufakis, honorary president of the Association of Exporters of Northern Greece, and Yannis Koukouras, president of 12sec Cybersecurity. The benefits of doing business in Greece include its high-quality logistics and communications infrastructure, its highly educated, skilled, and talented workforce, a strong entrepreneurial tradition, and relatively lower cost of labor. In addition, but not finally, Hellas is a very desirable location to live and work with easy access from around the globe, has a high standard of living, with an important diaspora and a great brand name. All this is coupled with various business opportunity sectors in Greece to consider, including food and beverage, renewable energy, shipping equipment and services, information and communication technologies, travel and tourism, maritime and border security, cosmetics and beauty products. However, the Hellenic Republic at times is perceived by many as having a Byzantine bureaucracy and business practices that have baffled and discouraged investors for years. It is the hope that this panel discussion with experts and successful business people in the field will help explain and elaborate on the process of doing business in Greece as the Hellenic Republic heads towards potentially becoming a regional and global hub for doing business. Due to the overwhelming response, actually, to our first doing business event, we decided to have this part 2 to continue the dialogue with our experts in the field who can provide guidance for many who are trying to figure out how to do business in Greece. We hope that this continuing conversation contributes to a wave of expanded innovation and Hellenic business insights and opportunities in this regard. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's panel discussion moderator, Konstantin Drougos. Konstantin has many years' experience in developing highly innovative energy and infrastructure projects globally. He is currently the managing director of Agro Marketing International Consultants that advises a variety of organizations on business development. He is also the CEO of the Oasis Carbon Management Group based in the US and Greece, and advises power companies and governments in devising low carbon footprint solutions. Konstantin.
Well said. Thank you, Lou. And thank you welcoming everybody in our panel today. 2020 was a wake-up call. To thrive in the coming decade, countries and companies must develop resilience. This is a word that's been talked about much so lately. The ability to withstand unpredictable threats or changes and then to emerge stronger. Develop resilience is easy to say, but hard to define and yet harder to do. In this forum, we reiterate the imperative and define the components of resilience, introduce approaches a country can take to become more so. As we enter the post-COVID world, doing business in Greece has become easier. More state services have come online, investment incentives are kicking in, and reforms are boosting the labor market. Hellenic regulations have been cut significantly, and there is still much room to do so. And costs and taxes slashed and procedures streamlined, making starting a business faster, simpler, and less costly to set up. Reflecting palpable confidence in news out of Greece, foreign direct investment continues upward year over year. Actually, Greece has just formally submitted its national recovery plan to the European Union last month, hoping for a boost to economic growth of as much as 7 percentage points over the next 6 years. Under the multi-billion euro coronavirus recovery package agreed by EU leaders last year, Athens is to get about 18.2 billion euros in grants and about 13 billion euros in cheap loans over the coming years, equal to about 16% of its gross domestic products. So tonight we have the pleasure to have with us two people from the, Lou Raptakis from the US, and Lou has been a vocal supporter of Greece since being elected the first time in 1996 as a state representative in Rhode Island. Throughout his public service career, Lou has been a staunch supporter of Greece and Cyprus, and he's a long-time member of the World Hellenic Interparliamentary Association, and this is something we'll explain to us a little bit later on, and he just actually became president of the Interparliamentary Association, and has worked on a range of policy issues impacting not only Greece, but many European nations. His parents are from the island of Andros, and he actually comes to Greece more often than I go to Thessaloniki, I think, and is involved in promoting the ties between business and political ties between the two countries. Thank you, Lou, and welcome.
Thank you, Costa, and I want to thank you especially and Lou Katsos and the EMBCA in inviting me to participate in Doing Business in Greece Part 2. I think it's a very important topic of doing business in Greece, especially with the relationship that we have between the United States and Greece. That is just unprecedented what we've seen in the last couple of years with the Trump administration and now with the Biden administration. Let me just start off with a little bit of my political background. As you said, I've been elected as a state representative since 1993 and a state senator since 1996. And a couple months ago, inadvertently, I became president of the organization, the World Interparliamentary Association, which comprised about 100 members of Hellenic roots. Here in the United States, we have 2 lieutenant governors, Lieutenant Governor of California, the Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut, and a Secretary of State from Vermont, 14 state senators, and about 26 state representatives in 18 states. We have Greek Americans elected in 18 states, and the remaining 57 are from countries of France, Great Britain, Germany, Romania, Albania, Switzerland. We've got Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Africa, South America. In South America, we have Brazil and Argentina. So we're all over the world. And that's a key component when you have your colleagues in government working together on how to help Greece. But on the short end, in the United States, the importance of the Greek American delegation is we are very well respected in our own states. We know the commerce secretaries. We know the economic development heads of our states, our governors. And last week, you had the governor of Virginia visiting Greece. Virginia governor, I believe it was, I'm going to forget his name, but anyhow, our commerce secretary, my former governor, Gina Raimondo, is probably going to be a great asset in doing business in Greece between the United States and Greece. And we know that in our states, we have the presidents of our Fortune 500 companies. So when Greece comes up as discussion, our legislative delegation would be an important tool on how to do business in Greece. We know the fact that we've had several companies that are already going to be investing in Greece. Onyx and Syros, Mohegan Sun, who just won the license to operate and build a casino in the former Hellenic airport. Microsoft, you've got the military investment, but all that is great. It's great to see a lot of American companies being introduced to Greece, looking at Greece. But here's the problem. The problem is, how do you do business in Greece? We know historically there's been a bad problem with bureaucracy, all levels, the paper process. You've got delays with the holiday system. Every other month there's a major holiday. There's a vacation time. August is a dead month where the whole month of August things just stop. And I think that's why it's important. Look, I'm going to give kudos to the Greek government. They've done a great job as far as looking at the taxation basis, lowering the tax structure, the corporate tax structure. But again, I really think that the more important issue is work with our colleagues in government in Greece, tell them what we do good in the United States, in our states, especially our state governments. We have legislators in Florida being one of the top states as far as doing business in Florida. So what's Florida doing right that I think it's a good lesson for Greece? I'll tell you a short story where we had an individual who took a leave of absence from Microsoft and wants to work for a Greek company. Now, just to get his 1-year residency permit, I personally assisted the Greek company, and it was just a bureaucratic nightmare, especially where every agency had to sign off. In one agency, you had 3 signatures just to sign off, and the delay, timing was important. And I think basically that has to be improved. I believe that a special ministry, for example, you have the Minister of Development, Avanis Georgiadis. I think he needs more legislative authority and more jurisdiction over a lot of the problems when you get to that bottom level of trying to get that final document signed to allow an engineer to come and help a Greek company. So I think that's very, very important. I think a lot of those issues have to be resolved. So for instance, if you pay a salary, an American that comes to Greece, or even a Greek native, somebody that works in Greece, you've got up to 50% of his salary comes into ICA, Social Security, the holiday vacation time, and that all adds up to be a costly factor in doing business in Greece. And the other issue that I can't understand is when you have a Greek company setting up their manufacturing in, say, another EU country, a neighborhood EU country, where the tax structure, for instance, might be 10%, and then in Greece, it's as high as 22%. So I think a lot of that bureaucracy has to be curtailed, eliminated, and have a welcome mat where an American company has an interest in doing business in Greece. Like I said, it's the best time ever. First of all, the diplomatic relationships between Greece and the United States are very important. We know that Greece is part of the EU neighborhood, but the United States being a strong partner with us here in the United States, and Lou, you and I have talked about this many, many times. So basically, I think an improvement of the system is very important. Helping our colleagues, working together with our colleagues in the Hellenic Parliament, the ministries, and that is, I think, an important tool, building that stronger bridge. Say when a company from Minnesota says, look, I want to do business, I want to start up the manufacturing process in Greece. I think Greece is going to be a great conduit for even the non-UE countries in the Balkans. There's a lot of investment that can be happening there, and Greece being the conduit. We just don't want to bring an American company to Greece, and then we're going to start with the total quagmire or a bureaucracy nightmare. So that has to be cleaned up, even in a better sense, a better process. So I think all these things that I just discussed are very important, and that's why, being in the political system, we understand that back home here in the United States, how when we want a company to come to Rhode Island, and we fight amongst ourselves, Rhode Island fights with Connecticut or fights with Massachusetts or other states, giving them a better tax structure, a better opportunity, tax investment, tax incentives. And I think that has to be part of the picture of doing business in Greece, as far as for us from the United States to have U.S. companies coming to Greece. And I thank you very much. I want to be very short to the point. I hope I made my point. And thank you very much for the kind invitation again.
Lou, bring up the picture so people can see what you were talking about in terms of representatives.
Sure. I think Lou Costa, I'm sorry. This was yesterday published in the Shipping Finance. And if you scroll down, Costa, you'll see the pictures of over up to, I believe it's 100 legislators, 43 from the United States, 18 states. I mean, this is a good way of working together. I mean, we can talk to our partners in Germany, our partners in France, our partners in Great Britain, Canada, 10 members in Canada, 19 members in Australia, 43 in the United States. English-speaking countries do make up the majority of individuals elected in their respective parliaments, whether they're a federal MP, whether they're a member of Congress, whether they're a lieutenant governor, or state legislators and provincial legislators. That's a very strong asset, working again, like I said, with their home countries, their governors, their EDCs, their companies, and making a very quick introduction. By the way, we're going to be meeting in Athens, Greece, July 28th through July 30th for 4 days in Athens, meeting with all stakeholders, with a lot of Greek companies. It's going to be an important conference. We meet every 2 years, and for us, it's great to have a partnership with a lot of commercial companies, both in Greece and back home to our respective countries.
Thank you, Lou. Really appreciate it. And it's fascinating because it shows the role the diaspora, that's another subject that we've all been talking about, can play in promoting Greek business. And it goes both ways, of course. Our next guest is from Thessaloniki. He was born in Thessaloniki, like myself, some time ago. He went Dr. Kyriakos Loufakis. He went to the US to study. After finishing chemistry in Aristotle University in Thessaloniki, he went to Selier Polytechnic in Troy, New York, and got his PhD. And then he was a researcher at the Institute for Micromolecular Chemistry at the University of Freiburg in Germany. Right now, he is the president of his own company, Loufakis Chemicals, that's been in Thessaloniki for some time now. He's also the president of the Alexandrion Thessaloniki Innovation Zone, and that's a very interesting project, and it'll be great to discuss this and see Thessaloniki's position in what's happening in Greece today. And he's also the president emeritus of SEVE, the Association of Exporters of Northern Greece. He's also a member of the board of various organizations, such as the University of Macedonia, and is a member of the Ethics Committee of Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and the advisory board of another familiar and very important institution in Greece, the American Farm School of Thessaloniki. Welcome, Kyriako, and thank you for being with us. And you actually studied in the US, you lived there, and 2 of your children are over there right now working for big corporations, came back to Greece, and we talk about doing business in Greece. So there is a great hands-on example of what is happening. Kyriako, you're muted right now, so we cannot hear you.
Yes, correct.
Oh, thank you.
Now I hope that you can listen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm representing here also our president, Dr. Kostadopoulos, George Kostadopoulos, who had another important meeting to attend. So he asked me to substitute him and come here in his place. Now, what I want to say is that Greece today is a much different country than what it was just 10, 15 years ago. Greece is a completely different country in 2020, 2021 than it used to be in 2010. And Greece is changing, and it is changing, I believe, with an accelerating rate, and I think it is improving. I want to give you a couple of numbers. Foreign direct investment, FDI, in Greece in 2020 is down about 30% than what it was in 2019. It's around 3.5 billion euros compared to 4.4 1 year before. But this number is not a bad number. If you consider that back in 2010, direct foreign direct investments, FDI, in Greece was just 250 million, and it became 1.1 billion in 2015. The numbers we are now are much better, and even more so if you compare with the decline in FDI that occurred in every country in 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. There was a 42% decrease in developed countries. In Europe, FDI was down by 70%. In Greece, it was just half of it. So things are getting better. Lou has just said and spoke about some of the problems that exist in Greece, and indeed they exist. However, things are getting better in an accelerating rate. Bureaucracy is decreasing fast. The minister Pierakakis is doing a very good job, and his job is recognized all over Europe. A lot of things are possible to be done today remotely, something that was not true just 1 year ago. Believe me, ourselves who live here, we are amazed, and this is a common sense between Greeks on how we can do things remotely without visiting all the bureaucrats and all the offices and desks we had to do just 1 year ago. We don't have to go to the municipality, we do not have to go to the tax office, we do not have to go to the various offices to get the permits that are necessary. Most of them now are done via a computer. So things are getting better, and this can be seen also in the increase of FDI that is happening in Greece. Now, coming to American companies, you mentioned Onyx, you mentioned Microsoft. I would like to mention a lot Pfizer and Deloitte, two American companies that have invested here in Thessaloniki area. And I would like here to point out the two main things that are very important internationally to do business in Greece. We do have two big advantages. One is our human capital. We have a lot of scientists, and this is evident by yourself, by the Greek people who prosper and have careers abroad. This brain drain that occurred in Greece in the last years, and it is still occurring, shows the advantage that we have in terms of human capital. So one of the businesses that you can do here is to invest in this human capital. This is what Microsoft is doing. This is what Pfizer is doing here. This is what Deloitte is doing here. Of course, there are problems, and I come back to this in a moment. Lou has already said a couple of things about it. The other big thing that the other big advantage we have is our geographic position and the sea. Everybody knows the Greek ship owners, but what it is not fully understood is that Greece is positioned in the crossroads of trade routes. Everything, you know, the industry zone of the planet is in the Far East, but consuming is done mainly, okay, in the United States, but also here in Europe. And all the consumers have to come through Greece. It is the easiest, the simplest, and the fastest route to the European Union. This is why our ports, Piraeus Port, Thessaloniki Port, are very important players, and around these ports you can develop a lot of industries and a lot of finalization, optimization of the products that you can do assembly and things like that that you can give to the market. That's why there is also a lot of interest now from American companies, and there is a lot of discussion also for military reasons for the rest of the ports that are in the privatization process right now. The port of Alexandroupolis, the port of Kavala, and so on. So those are the two main businesses that we can do and attract direct investments, foreign direct investments here. Human capital and all the business that you can do, because Greece is in the crossroad of the trading routes. This is coupled, of course, with the fact that Greece is a beautiful country, so everybody wants to live here. So you can attract even human capital from abroad to do business in developing R&D sessions. That's what Microsoft, that's what Pfizer, that's what Deloitte is doing here. Now, there are problems. Of course, there is the problem of the heavy taxation. Lou just said that. Corporate tax increase is 22%, while in neighboring countries is 12 and 15%. But I like to see, I'm an optimist, so I see the glass half full, not half empty. Corporate tax increase just a couple of years ago was 29%. Today is 22, and next year it will be 20. What I think it is a bigger problem is the problem of taxation of the labor. A person who receives a high salary, and high salary in Greece is a low salary in the United States, has to pay, or his company has to pay a lot of taxation and a lot of social security and health insurance, which are paid to the state. Again, things are a little bit better, but to say a few things, 3 years ago, for a person to receive 3,500 euro in his pocket per month, the cost for the company was 2.5 times more, was 9.5 thousand euros a month. This is huge. Today, there is still a gap, but it is maybe twice as much. So this is something that we have to improve. And this is something also that it is important because the COVID pandemic showed and made evident that in the future, the labor will be different than what it was before. I think that more and more people will work from home offices and not from the offices of their companies. This represents an opportunity for Greece, the so-called labor nomads, but to take advantage of it, we must improve our infrastructure here. And again, I'm thinking that we are taking steps towards this direction. So in very few words, you told me that I have to speak 5 minutes. I think that I overpassed that. If you want to say, if you have some questions, I will be very pleased to try to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Loufakis, and we'll get back with some more things because this will be interesting to know about the Alexandria Innovation Zone, some of the other things that you do in Thessaloniki and the conversations that have been happening. Our next guest, since we talked about technology and attracting talent, this is an area where talent is very important, in technology that is Yannis Koukouras. Yannis is the Managing Director, President of 12 Sec Security. He started his career as a network security administrator and member of the CERT team at the Corps of Computing and Research of the Greek Army. He then went on to offer IAS consulting services to various companies across the globe, gaining valuable hands-on experience. Yannis has partnered with some of the leading information security companies in the region and has accrued knowledge in working across different regions and industries, both in the fields of security management and information security assurance. In 2012, responding to the opportunities presented by the growth of the sector worldwide, Yannis founded 12sec in order to bring together a team of seasoned security consultants that share the same passion for innovation and attention to detail. These days, he's working tirelessly so 12sec can be recognized as one of the top information security firms on a global level. He is also an affiliated of many organizations and is on the board member of the Hellenic ISC, and you can explain that better than I, Yanni, to a chapter where he holds the position of communication manager. And he is also a volunteer coach of the Greek cybersecurity national team. Thank you, Yanni, and welcome. And you know what Dr. Loufakis mentioned yesterday, attracting talent. I know that this is a primary concern for companies in Greece that want to set up, especially in the technology sector.
Exactly. First of all, let me translate for you. The IC Square is the International Information System Security Certification Consortium, which is an NGO that tries to improve information security around the world. So yes, indeed, like you said, in our field of work, talent is the prime, and we try to chase talents all the time. And I think Greece is a very good place to find talents. Back in 2006, I joined a Belgium-based company, which had just opened their branch in Greece. So, you know, when I had a water cooler conversation with the country manager, I asked him, how come Belgium company chose Greece to open their branch? And he told me that they had went to one of the big four companies and asked them to do an assessment and propose which is the best country to open their branch. And this consulting company came back and said Greece is the best opportunity because it has engineers with good knowledge base, quality of work, work ethics, good enough English, and the price is very competitive for these engineers. So they went and opened this branch, and now this Greek branch employs more than 25% of the company's total worldwide. Fast forward 2012, when I started my own venture, our first client was a Utah-based company in the States, and that they saw the same qualities in our consultants, and they are still our clients today. And now we are doing business around the world, from the US to Japan. Greece has value for money. It was true back then, and it's true even truer today. Everybody knows, especially in the digital market, that as you go east, rates are going lower, but so does quality. So Greece, I think, is in the sweet spot. We have quality engineers without a high cost of life. If you go west from Greece, quality is the same. I'm sure of that. But the cost of living goes exponentially higher, so that makes the rates go higher. As you go east, the rates are cheaper, but so does quality of services. So we can maybe say that we have Western education and work culture without with the Eastern rents. Of course, there's room for improvement, especially when it comes to the red tape. We have a lot of red tape in Greece, like Dr. Loufakis also mentioned. We have to do something about this. COVID was a terrible thing, but it also was a great opportunity for digitalizing our government. And we have to ride this wave and make sure that we don't just digitalize the red tape. We have instead to cut the red tape with a digital knife. So this is a thing that we really have to focus on. And closing on a nice note, I always prefer to do the sandwich approach: start with something good, end with something good, and have something bad in the middle. So I remember, like 5 or 6 years ago, everyone in my field, we used to get everyday phone calls from headhunters all around the world, trying to recruit us to go to another company abroad. We had a major brain drain those days. Now we have started receiving resumes from Greek engineers that went abroad, and they currently work abroad, and they wish to come back to the motherland. So in a sense, they were trained abroad, and now they're coming back to bring all this knowledge to the Greek companies, improving them even more. So this is a great opportunity for us.
Thank you, Yanni. And this is actually something I was talking with Dr. Loufakis yesterday, when he asked his daughter and son that work in Houston if they will ever come back and how much it will take. The answer was a great surprise for him, that it's like they're willing to come back for substantially less. Well, more than, what used to be the normal here, but substantially less of what they make there. But it's also the opportunity to bring people from around the world here, not just the Greeks that went abroad, because there is a great, I haven't met anybody so far that wouldn't like to come to Greece, not just to visit, but even to stay. And now that we talked about the Nomads before, this can be a great opportunity to mend some of the corporations, especially technology, like your company, and Greece become a hub for technology. Mm-hmm. And now everybody is talking about technology. So this is a time to do it. Maybe hopefully we can use some of the funds that are available to do so. Also, our next guest, yes, Yanni.
Excuse me, Konstantin. One point what you said. Thessaloniki was ranked, a couple of months ago, was ranked in the top 10 cities for digital nomads in the world.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm from Thessaloniki, so I'm very happy about it. And Next, we have with us Mr. Dimitris Triadafilidis. Dimitri, we talked about economic development before, and I was actually, when I was doing my master's in the United States, I worked for the Economic Development Department, and Senator Aptakis mentioned that earlier. And you have actually worked in Europe for many years, in both economic development, branding, and tourism. And tourism, everybody is calling it the heavy industry of Greece. It's something I'm sure we're going to touch upon. You have been CEO of Melior Tempus Development, which is that branding for small and middle companies in Europe primarily. Also general manager for economic development for the Calvados Normandy region in France, and director of communications for the Nice, the city of Nice in the French Riviera, and also the Secretary General of the Euromed Cities Network of the French Riviera. And some time ago, you were also the media manager of the Disneyland in Paris. You, I think, recently came back to Greece as well, like myself, and we of great interest to hear your opinion about economic development, doing business in Greece, and of course tourism, you know, the so-called heavy industry, and what can we do to actually make it the real heavy industry of Greece?
First of all, thank you very much, all of you, for this invitation. I'm really happy and honored to be with you. I left Greece as a child. I was 17 years old, and I spent more than 41 years abroad, working around Europe, because as all of the Greeks, we speak a lot of languages. So when you go abroad, big companies like Disney, Christian Dior, or Essilor, where I worked, they're looking for people who can speak languages and do business everywhere. And after 41 years, last year actually, just before the first lockdown, I decided to come back to Greece to participate to the growth of my country and to bring back, in my cases, some experience working abroad, some best cases to help them, small and middle companies, because the big companies don't really, the needs are lower, I would say. Previously, and to catch up with what Lou was saying, I spent most of my time in France, France-based. So I have tried to help French companies to come to build up or buy or invest in Greece, in Congress centers or other businesses. Every time it was a disaster. We have spent hundreds of thousands of US dollars. And after 6 months, we came back home with no success at all. The thing is that I understand what all of you say, but you have to, and I see living here, the changes, the rapid changes the government is doing, and we're really lucky to have them. And it's not a political position, it's just a result operational position. But we have, and you have to think, all of you, that the public time is not the same as the private time. That means in our businesses, in private businesses, we go always faster than the public time can, and they can never catch up or, you know, be at the same level. This is something which is, we always remain more or less the same. Now, coming back to Greece is not that easy. First of all, because all of us, we are used in another way of working, in other culture, in other way of doing our businesses. And coming back to Greece is like, it's a brand new experience. And you know, the plane to come down, of course, with the weather is perfect, you know, better than me, the Greece, but doing business is always difficult. Now about the tourism. I'm glad to hear that in your businesses you have a human capital and people who have, I would say, high-level education, which is not really the case of the hotel industry in Greece. The hotel industry in Greece, more than other countries, is really family-based, a family organized hotels and hospitality. These people have never studied tourism. They don't know what's the process like. They follow their own schema of doing business, and they expect everything from the government. That means most of them today, they expect, it's almost a joke, that the Minister of the Tourism of Greece fills up their hotel rooms, which is something very particular because in most of the countries, European countries I was working for, nobody really cares what the Ministry of Tourism is doing. It's more a private business. It's every professional, but he's doing to build up his business and develop his business. And for the last 10 days, and this is our specialization today, we entered in what is city branding and building strategies of attractiveness for cities and destinations that gives power to the heads, between the hands of the mayor, to build a strategy to attract more investors, more tourists, and of course more people to live at the cities. Because everywhere in Europe, this you have to know, if we go out of the big cities like the capitals, all the small and middle cities, they have problem of keeping the habitants in place. Children are going and leaving the villages or the small cities to go to the capitals to find a job. And this creates great problems in all cities, Europe-wise, Spain, France, Germany, and of course, Greece. So in our way of working is to develop a strategy to bring back investors, people to stay, and tourism. Now, talking about tourism, as I said before, and the COVID, it was just an acceleration of what it would happen anyhow. Since 10 years, at least, I would say 20 years before, we have seen that the tourism is changing. The typology of tourism are changing. We are not looking anymore for holidays, sea and sun, but we are looking more of living experiences. And experience means that I want to live like locals do. I want to eat what locals do. I want to try the local products. I want to go around and talk or try to learn how to cook a Greek dish or drink Greek wine, and not go to a to have breakfast in a hotel and to be served an industrial butter coming from Germany, from France, or from the States, or buying souvenirs coming from China. So this change in Greece they haven't got it yet, that everything has started to change since years ago, and the COVID period accelerated things, not only, of course, in Greece, but everywhere in Europe. I say that in the tourism market, there exists the tourism BC before COVID, and the tourism AC, the tourism after COVID. We have built, all of us, all the country, our tourism industry around with the baby boomers. The baby boomers were our parents mainly, I would say, who were working very hard, and they were saving money to go somewhere to relax and be close to the beach and nice weather. But the baby boomers are going out of the market. They're almost out of the market. Now they are the boomers in the markets, which are the latest. The boomers are the 50 years plus, but the core market is the 30 to 50 years old, which are really the people who are traveling. And this, every country, every destination is trying to get them, because they can spend money, they know what they want to do. But of course, we know that they don't want anymore this only sea and sun, which is not an exclusivity also for the Greece, even if we say that the Greek sea and the Greek beaches and the weather is the best in the world. But it's not exclusivity, the sea and the sun. Other destinations are developing themselves very well, new destinations too. So the model today is, in the touristic model in Greece, has to change. It's not already here, the change. They were expecting that the 2021 is going to be the restart of the Greek tourism. Unfortunately, it's not the case. And when we read Deloitte and other institutions by the right, we see that everything will start going better at the same levels as before, up to starting the 24 or 2025. So up to then, I believe Greece has a big, has to work to change the model. It's quite risky actually to have 20% or more, 23% of the national income in tourism. If we compare it to France, which is the first, I would say, worldwide destination with more tourists arriving, the income, the national income represented by the tourism is 9%. So you can see the difference between 9 and 20%. So the risk for Greece not catching up with the 2019 figures for tourism is going to be a short and a long-term problem that they have to face here. So as I said, of course, because we talk about investment, is the best place to invest in the touristic business. From people coming from outside, who are professionals of the market, who know what's the tourism, who know how to deal with visitors, who know, of course, who understand that they have to respect the local tradition and promote the local life and the local products and the local art de vivre, as we say in French. But there are big opportunities for investors in Greece. For me, and I'm fighting for this, Konstantinos knows it, I consider that Greece is a diamond in terms of tourism. We are treating more or less like a charcoal today. We have built and we have managed to be even more cheaper than Spain, who was the cheapest destination for Europe. When I see the results that the surveys that the middle spend of a tourist in Greece per day, including airplane costs, is 35 euros a day. It's you understand that there is a big problem there. 35 euros a day per person coming to Greece. We have not a quality, but we have a product positioning problem. So people investing from outside, buying hotels or managing hotels, they can bring them, and I believe Greece can be like Monaco the day they understand that the mass tourism or the over tourism is not good for the country. It's not good for the country because we know that the over tourism is destroying the environment. We know also that the COVID era, we have understood that we are more sensible to low carbon emissions, to how to deal and how to protect the resources like water, like electricity, like how to deal with garbage, these people today, they are more conscious about all these problems than 10 years or 15 years or 20 years ago. And this is a lot of things to be done, in this case, in Greece. And I believe that as we have seen it also in Venice, we have seen it in Amsterdam, we have seen it in Barcelona. This recently in Marseille, in France, they have changed their strategy to push away the mass tourism, to say we don't want all these tourists coming to our places, to our cities. We want less people with more quality. More quality, of course, it means more money. If you ask someone, do you want 10,000 clients spending 10 euros a day, or 100 clients spending 100 euros a day? For the country or for the destination, the second choice is always better, because we can have a better relation also and build better, stronger relations with our guests. So at this moment, Greece is at a turning point. How to go away from this mass tourism and to increase income, having less tourism. This means that from the national strategy as well as the local strategy, things have to change. And because at this point, we have a big risk for the global economy of the country. So we have now first of all, we need education. Sorry, we have to educate people working train them, people working into the hotel business, people working in the restaurants, how to serve, how to talk, how to look, how to respect the process, how to give always the same service 24 hours a day and 365 days a year. So there is a big need for educating and training the tourist people, and there is a big problem of upgrading the Greek offer in tourism.
Thank you, Dimitri. Actually, Greece branding is always, sun in the sea. I was always telling to my friends, Greece should have 24 months of season, not just 6, 7, depending on the area of Greece you're operating. And Santorini, I think, has actually managed to get 12 months out of the year. But this is all about branding, as we said before, because the more the people, the more the problems are created. And definitely having a model of, let's say, some other countries in Asia that just got into the business of tourism, it's not the same in Greece. To live in Greece, a friend of mine told me, you need approximately, a decent wage for a couple, own or they don't own their home, is between 1,500 to 2,000 euros. And this is the goal, not the goal to actually how to make it everything less. And by making everything less, you get less. And the branding has a lot to do with it. I mean, people are willing to pay, and I know we talked about this, the Dior campaign in the Acropolis, and this is an everlasting argument about using this great monuments of Greece to promote brands. But we're also promoting our own brand, as long as there is respect and as long as something the country gets out of it. And I'm sure when Dior or the big brands put Acropolis or Sunion or Vergina Museum, one of my favorites, out in the world, people remember, and people do. And
yes, I would like to add only one thing. The first thing we have to respect, all of us, in all our businesses, is the environment of Greece, is the land, is very fragile. The beaches, the mountains, the small villages, everything is very fragile. The environment is very fragile in Greece. And if we don't respect the environment, we are going to destroy the product, because everything is based on the environment in Greece.
And the environment now, actually, and I'm not talking just about the greening of Europe that is being talked in Brussels and in many other capitals around the world. We're talking about taking care of our backyard, collecting the garbage, making sure everything is clean, or in today's COVID world, make sure that the protocols have been followed. And there are actually, people that serve you at a certain standard, and it's happening. I see that in some places, especially in Athens, that I know anyway, the people that are opening the restaurants are following protocols, and they want to learn, because it's again, tourism is not it's not like before. You come from wherever you come from and spend 1 or 2 weeks here. You can have people that actually stay here and live for 6 months or 8 or 9 months. And those are the people that have a great added value. And Senator Aptakis mentioned Florida. That's really the product Florida has sold, along with attracting the rest of the U.S. Citizens there with special tax incentives and other things.
Yanis has talked lately about the nomad tourism. This is a great product for all our companies. We don't need big offices. We don't need big buildings with a laptop. But to have nomad tourism, you need high-speed internet. Okay. Sometimes, even because I'm living outside Athens, it reminds me the first modems that we had with this, the noise like going to the space, but it was just a joke of the day, I would say.
I think the percentage that you were talking about, Dimitri, in terms of the tourist industry, in terms of the overall industry of Greece, is problematic, as you indicated. So Greece really has to, as you say, back away a little bit from the tourist industry, from the point of view of masses of people coming, very low grade people. And in fact, some of the other issues that we were talking about, for example, Yanni, with the technology aspect of what's happening in Greece, and also, here's what I got out of the conversation. What I got out of the conversation is a few things from just listening to all of you. One is that the government, has too much say, quite frankly, because of the bureaucracy in how businesses do and how businesses thrive, and how investment also comes into the country, because it becomes very difficult when you have these large bureaucracies, stifling business. So that's one. The other thing that I got out of it, which I liked actually, the concept of the crossroads between the West and the East. Because if we look historically, obviously, at where Greece is situated, when we look at empires and we see, for example, the Byzantine Empire was there for 1,000+ years, actually operating as the crossroads between East and West. That concept of Greece developing back into that particular mercantile aspect of dealing with things, I think, is very important. The other thing is language, okay, because it was mentioned about language and the fact that many of the Hellenic people speak multiple languages. It almost reminded me of what we call the dragomans, let's say, of the Ottoman Empire, who in fact were Hellenic people and Armenians and Jews, quite frankly, who took care of all the economics of the empire, because they had the ability to speak languages and things of that nature. So what I heard out of this conversation is sometimes in order to go forward, you have to step back and think of who you are as an international people. Lou talked about the fact that we have all these Hellenic, let's say, people with Hellenic backgrounds in all these different nations. And that represents the diaspora, which was always a main powerful tool of the Hellenic nation as it was developing. So what I got out of the conversation is Greece has the ability to become that hub that they were many years ago. Something was lost. For example, even in the Ottoman Empire, who were the Ottomans? We were the Ottomans. In fact, who was conducting the business? We were conducting the business. Tens of thousands of merchants from the
Right.
Ottoman Empire, went into Eastern Europe, into Russia, into England, into all these different nations. So what this discussion, for me at least, is coming up with is the fact that we have to go back and start thinking as a people, not only as a government, because it's not that I'm against governments, but I don't particularly care for governments to begin with, quite frankly. The less governments are involved in my particular mind, the better. Because, Dimitri, you indicated also that governments are a problem. In other words, businesses want to go in there and they're working at a different speed. They're not interested in these governments being a block, let's say, for them to do what they have to do. So your thought is, and I think all our thoughts are, and Lou, if you can get into that conversation, is that this government and every Hellenic government, if they want to do well, they have to step back, they have to analyze their systems, they have to work on their technology in terms of internets and all the rest of that, get out of the way of people so people can conduct business like they did hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, because that's who we are as a people. From thousands of years ago, we were the first international people. We actually went abroad. And now it's time that we come back in and reestablish those old historical links that we had with our people.
Lou, if I can I want to just chime in. I want to say something. The timing is very important also. I'll give you a perfect example. We had an American company called Eco Fuel Saver, which came to Greece and met with Kyriakos in Thessaloniki. An American named Ricky Ford never came to Greece for the first time. He was excited just to be in Thessaloniki and coming to Greece for the first time. But the timing was very important because his company produces a fuel incentive to cut down pollution. Back then, the price of barrel of oil was very high. When we started negotiations, we went and visited Kyriakos' company up at Thessaloniki. But then the price fell down, and now the price is coming back up. As you know, the new Green Deal, what's happening in the world, price of the barrel of oil is going to start probably going up. Timing is very important. So we're hoping to get, again, to restart negotiations between a company in California. But the problem with his company is because it's an American-based company, but he was lucky that he had a license to manufacture his product in Ireland. So we cut that bureaucratic red tape. Now, just think if it's an American company trying to come to do business directly with Loufaki's chemical, it'd be a different story. Timing is very important. Again, what you said, the red tape, that is very important. That's key. So again, Kyriakos, I mean, we want to thank you again. We're hoping to reintroduce Eco Fuel Savers to manufacture their product in Greece using his chemical company. And again, it's a key point that I want to make. Lou, the other issue that Dimitri made, the tourism, look, for the first time, we have 9 nonstop flights starting July 1st to, I believe it's going to run till September 15th. 9 nonstop flights coming from the United States with 3 American carriers and 1 foreign carrier. I mean, you're going to get the tourism that you need, the high value tourism. But again, when they get to Greece, we still got COVID restrictions, some COVID restrictions in Greece. But again, we don't want to base it on the US, but having those tourism, US tourists coming in, they're going to be folks that work with US companies that are coming to Greece for the first time. Maybe they're being introduced to Greece. Our legislative delegation of about, I believe it's 18 Americans, 9 are coming to Greece, maybe for the first time in a very, very long time. So it's a reintroduction and reintroducing them once again. They'll go back to their states, advertise, be salesmen. So all that is probably all intertwined in our
Yeah, but Lou, listening to the discussions that we were having today, I mean, you can play a very large role in helping doing business in Greece. For example, you're talking about the conference that you're going to have in July between 28th and 30th. They should not just come over there and hang out in Greece and have a conference and all the rest of that. They should plan before that, actually talk to business people like some of the people we have on board right now, and really go there in a powerful way to the Greek government and tell them some of the things that are coming out of these discussions. In other words, the red tape must be cut. If we're going to do business in Greece, and we're talking about all these great things, great locations, smart people, technologically advanced, all the rest of that speak multiple languages. But meanwhile, nobody can run, as Dimitri said, because they're busy being held back by the government.
Sure.
You have to take a forceful interest in actually discussing and forcing this government, like all governments, to back away from some of their bureaucracy, analyze it, and cut the red tape.
Lou, what we're doing is we have the minister of Kyriakos Perikakis is going to be in front of us for an hour, a good hour. The tourism minister, Makis Voridis, and Adonis Georgiadis is the keynote speaker at the dinner we're having on the 29th with Greek business. That's going to be at the Intercontinental. That's being hosted by the Chamber, by Greek companies, the manufacturers, law firms. I mean, we're doing our homework. I'm glad you brought it up because we are going to put these four ministers in front of us and really give them some hard questions, being the majority of us from the United States. But we're not just going there. Our conference 3 days is going to be nonstop. But you're right. We are going to make that point. We are going to see the president of the parliament. We are going to meet with a lot of members of the Hellenic Parliament. Those are the decision makers. Those are the individuals that pass the laws in Greece, whether to reduce taxation, to make it easier. So we're going to be, our conference is inside the Hellenic Parliament, and we're bringing those ministers into the Hellenic Parliament. So anyone
but your group has to turn the screws on these people.
Oh, we are
because it's very difficult for somebody who's it's very difficult for someone who's in Greece. It's very difficult for someone who's in Greece who's dealing with these ministers all the time to be very aggressive. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. In other words, they have to be very careful because you know what could happen if they're not very careful in Greece. Because power is coming from the top down. It's not coming from the bottom up, as you know. So we want you to put the screws.
Lou, allow me to say that this is not absolutely correct. The problem of bureaucracy in Greece does not come from the minister. The problem comes from bottom up.
From the middle.
The bureaucracy.
The problem is the public servants. The problem is that the minister can say, do that, and the officer does not obey. That's the problem. And this government tries to go over it. And there are people who try more, and there are people and ministers, and I'm not saying more, that are hesitating to confront the employees, the state employees.
Is that because of unions? Is that because of actual people hitting the streets?
Yes.
Is that what it's about?
Yes.
I think it's because of they're afraid of the political impact.
Yes, correct.
It's the unions. They are afraid to be the minister that fired some people.
Having spent 25 years in politics, because this was the second hat I was having in France, for some past presidents and mayors and all of that. There's a phrase that we were saying: public servants stay, politics pass. So this is the mentality that this, as Kyriakos was saying, the how we call them, the public servants or whatever, the people working in the public employees, they don't care. They know that, especially in Greece, where elections they are coming every now and then, and this is Lou, this is the problem. One of the major problems, because you're coming down in July, you're going to get these guys and shake them down, but probably 2 months after that, in October, they won't be here anymore.
And that's why, and that's maybe a reason for optimism, because the way to turn this down is by changing the rules. And what Perakakis is doing, and this is, I think, very, very important, eliminates the need of the employees, because there are rules and you just follow the rules. To give you an example, in my company, we have recently renewed our license to work. Now, this you have to fill up several papers and pass through, do several studies, etc., etc., etc. But at the end, you do it, you declare it yourself automatically, and you receive the license. And then they come and check whether what you've said is correct or not. And if it's not correct, you have problems. Before, you need the employee to come and check, and he might say, no, this is not, it should be 1.2 meters, and this is 1.1 meters. So you have to do it, and you have to call me again. The fact that we are decreasing the contact between public servants and the companies and the private sector is, to my opinion, till we manage to have new public servants and new employees with a different mentality, this is the solution. Because believe me, all my life I was in the private sector. SEVE, the Exporters Association, is private sector, 100 private sector. Innovation Zone, Thessaloniki Innovation Zone, is public sector. And I'm president of Thessaloniki Innovation Zone for the last 2.5 years. And believe me, things that I couldn't imagine, now I understand. You know, the first thing that we, the first problem, this is very characteristic. The first problem I had when I was in the office was that one computer, something was broken, and we need 20 euros to fix it. But the bureaucracy to get those 20 euros was so high that it would take a month to do it. That was the first, I mean, I paid it myself, you know, to finish that. It's ridiculous, but this is the rules, and there are employees who like to, you know, to go around the rule and complete and do the business. But if somebody asks them why you did that, he might have a problem. But most important, he says, why should I do that? I don't care, I'm not doing it. And there are people who say, no, this is, I have to do it. And there are a lot of people like that. We will do it even though if we go by the book, we have to do it in a different way. So to change that and to have rules that it will be controlled automatically, and that's, I'm saying it once again, this is what is happening now in Greece, and COVID accelerated that, is a very good thing. It's, I'm optimistic of what.
Can I make a proposition, just an idea, because this is an idea I'm working at the moment, and I'm happy to have you around, guys. I was thinking 3 months ago to go around all these problems, because Lou, you have these problems coming from the States. I have some guys coming from France who have they are talking exactly the same way you do. And I believe if I take also from Germany or from England, fellows, great fellows, yeah, they say the same thing. So I was thinking, because doing things from inside is, as Luis said, is different when it's coming from outside. The idea is, because you have it almost already, if we could not create an international think tank of named whatever Greece of tomorrow, and this think tank creates or finds or installs locally in Greece a dream team who is going from one way, from one part, help companies to enter Greece, doing all the paperwork or pushing doors or whatever. And on the other hand, doing some political lobbying. Because if we put all this power of all you guys, of us guys being abroad, but also with the feet, as I say, with the feet local now, if we create this organism, then we have a very strong power and leverage for any kind of government. You understand? But I don't know if it's clear what I said. You know, something.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Which is big for
Dimitri, it's very clear. It's very clear. As a matter of fact, we have a huge diaspora, for example, as Lou indicated. But what's happening also is that we're being marginalized as the diaspora. In other words, we're in terms of votes, in terms of all these other things, they want to keep us out. They want to keep us out, Lou, because they're afraid. They're afraid that it's going to change the power structure within the Hellenic nation. And that's a political scenario, by the way. But what you said in terms of having people locally, while these other things are happening, that can help companies to do the paperwork and all the rest of that through the system, because they have to do that. And at the same time, apply the appropriate pressure from abroad, in particular through the diaspora from around the world, and also being linked with the other people of other nations that have similar problems of doing business in Greece. I think then we have something. But we're being marginalized. It's a separate discussion. I apologize for introducing it.
This was my problem too when I heard yesterday the law that was not voted for.
Oh.
But whatever. This is very political.
That's okay. I agree with you. I would love to see it be voted, but anyway, you know what the problem is. I will say. Lou saw this in the newspaper, the politicians that of Greek origin, that they are in different countries, and the ship owners that of Greek origin. You know, this implies, and this is the mentality, and what we discuss here, this is the mentality of President Kennedy when he said, don't see what you can do, what your country can do for you, but see what you can do for the country. When this mentality will go in the public servant section, the problem of bureaucracy will be solved. But this will take many years to be done. And for the time being, what we can hope is to have ways to go over it, not to have to interact a lot with the public section.
Kyriakos, you know that they are always the back doors.
What you want to do, if John,
I'm talking about legal things, but the back door, you know, things. I'm not talking about bribing. I'm talking about the back door. When I was talking about, imagine that we are 4, 5, 7 today. Imagine that 7 times 100 people like us who are interested of doing something for Greece. And we have a great assembly, and we have think tanks per sector, industry, pharmaceutical, tourism, or whatever. And they think and always in the investment. That means, okay, what we have to do to improve the business in Greece, and how we can bring investors in companies in our sector in Greece. This is the work that we can do from outside, from the countries that we are. And this we can let it know to the whole world that, listen, there is a team working for Greece. And on the other hand, this think tank, I believe that money can be found, because it's not that much, to create a team on fees, working on fees, not on a basic salary. That, let's say we have 3 lawyers, 5 accountants, and 3 marketing guys or whatever, who are locally. And when you do, guys, here is a file from Lou, coming from the States for this project. Go and push it. And accompany the company, or prepare the field for the company from the States or France or whatever, accompany them to do the business and do all the hard work and use all the back doors and use all the contacts, political or whatever that you have.
This is how it is in Washington, in New York. I mean, when anybody wants to come and do business is the same way. You know, it's not the interesting thing about this conversation started. You know, we're talking about the diaspora. The diaspora may has about, I call them selling points, maybe about 10 or 15,000 spots around the world in the different countries that the Greek diaspora lives. They have a Greek flag, and along with the other flag of the nation that is there. It was never used, and maybe it's on the decay right now. There are a lot of tools that can be, and the way of doing business, Dimitri says, and I know both Lou and Lou knows very well, and Kyriakos and Yannis, it's the same way all over the world. You have to prepare and you have to have projects. There's another thing that is Greece is lacking of. We talk about, you know, bring the investors. Okay, but where is the project? You know, show me the numbers. You know, do they have a license to build that or the other thing? You know, or Kyriakos was talking before. You know, to get the license to produce X, Y, and Z. And the conversation is important to have, and to have it in a broad forum like we have now, and eventually will trickle down. But if you never have this conversation and we just have we meet in a cafe and we talk to each other and complain, that doesn't really gonna get anywhere. And I think that's go ahead.
But check it the other way around. We decide what investors we bring.
Exactly.
We have to change the way we do.
Absolutely.
Lou or Louis or Yannis or Kyriakos or you, Konstantine, we have, let's say, in our contacts, a company who wants to rent or to buy the old buildings of the Olympic Games. That was one project that I drove years ago, and I lost $100,000 dollars. And we have these people who are interested about this thing, and we take this project and we go and sell it, and we help this company from outside to make it happen in Greece. We are not expecting them to tell us where to invest. And truly speaking, they don't know. If you ask today the Greek government or whoever in what field you want investors, they don't know. They don't know. I spoke to Adonis, and I wanted to bring Adonis in France and this is more the Yannis field. I wanted to bring Adonis to see one place which is called Station F, which is the accelerator, incubator, whatever in Paris, which is the best place to be, I would say. It's done by a big business guy, French business guy, who is in a lot of business. I wanted to bring them there, which is in 2 hours from Athens, to see how it is. And it's not public money, it's private money. And it's all technology and computing and apps and whatever you want. You know, let's do it the other way. We do a copy, paste, adapt for them. You want
That's what they are trying to do in Europe, more or less.
Sorry?
That's what they are trying to do in Europe.
It's public. This is an argument that I had with them. They don't know. You have the public sector have to withdraw itself from the project. You have to leave it driven by professionals.
That's what we are doing here in Thesintech. Eh?
I didn't know. I will come and visit you, Kyriakos. I will be happy.
What I would just, what I want
No.
to just chime in, we have the same problem in the United States. We have blue collar states, we have red states, blue states. Florida's doing a good job with labor, with the unions, working, whether they're working with them or not. I mean, you can see how Florida's prospering. You go to New York, which is a heavy union state, even Rhode Island, Connecticut, we've got a lot of problems, but our initiative coming to Greece is working with the Hellenic Parliament, which is very, very important, and the government. We don't take sides, but our initiative is to give them new perspective, new ideas. What we do in the states, whether you come from a Democratic state or Republican state, there's good from each of those states. And that's what we want to share of doing business in Greece. And hopefully we work together and the message, they understand it. But it's a long uphill climb to try to convince historically how powerful the unions are in Greece. And look, Greece is going through the recession. Now they've gone through COVID. I don't know what's next. So we're just going to keep on fighting and moving one step forward. If we have to go two back, we are going to still keep fighting. But everybody made up a good point of what our discussion was all about today.
What I think Dimitri was also talking about is to forget about the government for a second. Take a different initiative, a different road, quite frankly, because in some cases what he's saying is, I'm just using my words, not his words, they're clueless in terms of these different industries and what should happen, because they don't know. They don't have the expertise or the talent.
And not everywhere, not even in Greece. Huh? It's not only in Greece happening. Everywhere is like that. I'm talking about the French government, which is more, I would say, sophisticated or whatever about the Greek, and they don't change every 2 days. It's the same. It's the same situation. Forget about governments.
But let's also see the opportunity. I think that Greece today is a very stable country with a stable government. It seems, okay, this is my analysis, that it will stay like that for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, but Kyriakos, listen, it is stable, by the way, much more stable than it was before, but it's in a very unstable area.
Yes,
very unstable area.
We are an island of stability in an unstable area. And okay, as I said, I'm an optimist. I see half full the glass. This is our advantage.
I see the same thing you do, and some of the latest moves. Again, I'm speaking from a perspective outside of where the East Mediterranean, but people getting together. For example, the linkage between, let's say, Greece and Israel, Greece and Egypt, the outreach for that, Greece and the UAE, et cetera, et cetera. This is the Greece of the past that used to think internationally, coalitions and all the rest of that. And I have seen something very positive, quite frankly, taking place with regards to that. But back to Dimitri's point, I understand that people want to deal with governments and all the rest of that, but that's not where it's at, is what Dimitri is saying. And sometimes you have to bypass governments. Am I wrong, Dimitri?
Yeah. You cannot, it's whatever. I don't say that they don't do a good job today, the government. But tomorrow, probably there's going to be another government. Or tomorrow, the Minister of Development will change. So it's with the politics, it's a continuous change, and because they change persons, they have changed strategy or political pressures or other priorities. Now it's the COVID. After that, it's going to be the recession. So it's not something like a corporate business, and you can go and say, okay, I sell my service 100 euros. Do you have it? No. How you want 80? Okay, deal. It doesn't work like that. Nowhere.
And on top of that, there is actually a government around the world. They accept assistance. When they don't know something and there is a redevelopment project, they go and get the people that know how to do this, and they pay them to do it. Here there is an innate fear I discovered. I've been working with the delignitization process, and it's a critical situation. Let's put it that way, mildly saying so.
But
But the thing is, to get things done, to create the projects, to attract the investments, to replace whatever it is to be done there, it cannot be done by the local people because they've never done it. You know, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars are being absorbed, billions sometimes. And these numbers, you know, you need the guys from Wall Street to actually put the plan together and bring the companies to take advantage of all these great things.
Yeah,
and
but Konstantin,
it cannot be done on a local level.
Konstantin, I agree with what Dimitris has said, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We
Exactly.
can go to France and see how France did it, and we can of course we have to adjust it to our culture and to how we are, but yeah, we don't have to invent it from the start.
Yeah. Let's say I was looking, I'm telling you a secret, which is my secret professional, but I'm happy to share it with you. I'm working in the tourism business in a new concept. I want to change Greece to Hellas.
Now you got it.
Yeah,
Now you
because
got it.
I have a problem.
Yes.
For me, Greece is from the Ottoman times and afterwards. And what is interesting and what people everywhere in the world are buying is the past, is the ancient Greece
Hellenic.
time. When we talk Greece to an American, he's thinking about Acropolis, about Pythagoras, about Aristotle, about whatever, about guys and about this civilization of the ancient Greece, not of the actual Greece. Okay, nobody's having, when you're selling Greece, you don't sell what you have today, but what you were used to have. So the Hellas concept is promoting Greece, not through souvlaki and
Opa.
but promoting Greece from back to the roots project. You understand?
Exactly. Listen, Constantine is laughing because he knows my feeling about even the word Greece. I never use that word. I hate it. Actually, I didn't even like it in, quite frankly, the name of this particular panel discussion. But Greece has to be rebranded back to what it is. In other words, to Hellas, okay?
Exactly.
To Hellenism, to the past. And that's how you go forward, not to become, as you would say, Dimitri, someone serving someone else, the tourist who's coming into Hellas, not a nation that puts concrete on the Acropolis and destroys the ecosystem of the Acropolis and creates floods, but a different type of Hellas that goes back to its roots, back to its people, back to the intelligence of its people. Highly educated people, quite frankly, who have unfortunately been misguided. The other thing is, and this is to you, Lou, the diaspora is not being treated properly by the Hellenic government. And it's very annoying. And there's a whole thing that's happening in the United States, by the way, among the diaspora, which is really going to go contra to a lot of the things that some of the government is doing with regards to how they treat you. Okay, we are not treated as other alienists. Okay, we are treated as people. How can we get something, and how can we not give something in return? If you want to get something, then you have to deal with the people of the diaspora with a little bit more respect. We're not respected properly.
Lou, I think you brought up a good point. I think the voting rights is a test case for the government and for the Hellenic Parliament to allow someone that lives outside of Greece that fulfills the credentials, whether it's holding a Greek passport or whatever, it's a test case. So you're absolutely right. Let's see what happens if they're going to pass voting rights, allowing somebody outside of Greece who is qualified to vote. I mean,
they voted yesterday, it didn't pass. They voted yesterday, Lou, it did not pass.
Actually,
Well, that's
Actually,
right. It's gonna pass. I mean, so it failed. Yes.
actually, let me put it in the right perspective. I'm very much informed of votes to the Greek diaspora. Not now. That was years ago. I have signed several avis saying that it is necessary for Greek diaspora to have voting rights, equal voting rights with ourselves. So I'm very much in front of that. But the same is true for the parties that represent 60–70% of the Greek people. The votes, in the parliament, the bill for the voting rights of diaspora received 190 votes out of 300. But because it relates to our constitution, it required to get 2/3 of the votes.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't pass. It's two parties, Syriza and the Communist Party, that are against it, and those two parties represent today around, according to the recent polls, around 30% of the Greek vote. But there is no way to do something different. I think that what it has been achieved, the limited rights that have been given to Greek diaspora to vote. So, for example, my kids will be able to vote in next elections. It's a step forward. And let's hope that the next, when the situation will change, that you will receive full rights of voting. I mean, I don't know who has read the work, who is familiar with the work of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the young prince. He says, the king said that I give orders, but I give orders that my followers can follow. If I give an order that it is not possible to follow, then they will not listen my order. And we must have pragmatism.
One thing I want to add here, because I followed the conversation after the vote yesterday. There was a lot of people writing a lot of things about the diaspora, which for me, it means one thing. It's not clear what the diaspora stands for to the Greek people. That's why we're having, some of the comments were actually, I would say very interesting to be on the positive side. But I think this is more of a lack, because, the Greek-American classical thing, but it's not the same anymore. The new Greek-American diaspora is nothing to do with the one that 30 or 40 years ago. I'm not saying we're better or worse than it is. That's what it is.
But
and I think the same thing is in France and in Africa for whatever is left there. And maybe the case has not been made, because from the comments I read, it was really, some of them I would call them disturbing, but I don't want to go on the negative side here. Maybe the proposal has not been made. What is the diaspora stands for Greece? And it's definitely one of the biggest. It's a colossal asset that can be used in many different ways. And Sandor Aptakis and Luke Katzos, been working, and Dimitri in France. There's several things that can be accomplished, and much more easier, getting straight to the point, to the guy that can make the decision in Washington, in Paris, in wherever it is.
And this is what I was saying, go around the problem. There's a wall in front of us, we go around it. We have the know-how, we have the money, or our money, or the investors or interests of money. So this is the power of the world. What else do you have? What do you need? You don't need anyone else. Okay, you don't want me to vote? Okay, personally, I'm angry, but it cannot stop me doing business, buying business, developing business the way I want it, putting the people I want in there and training them and learning and whatever and doing something for my country. This no one can block the diaspora and all the guys like us to do something if we want to Greece. But the only success is that we have to be together, strong, and strike together. In France, and I'm starting in France, we have because I'm a French citizen also, we have a minister of diaspora. We have a minister who is taking care of all the French people living abroad. And during elections, he's doing the tour in the States and whatever, to do speeches or whatever. And because the votes of the diaspora, the French diaspora, they are very important and they count in the final election of the presidential.
You see, there are two things. One is positive, the other is negative. The positive thing is that the last 6-7 years, from 2010 to 2016-17, we have more than 500,000 young people that left Greece and went abroad. So there are a lot of families, especially middle-class families, who have relatives now living abroad. So this changes the mentality towards of the people towards the idea that these people must have rights to vote. On the other hand, the bill didn't pass simply because two parties believe that if it passes, they will lose power and votes. That's period. That's what happens. And
the people
having said that, we must see what we can do towards the necessity to have voting rights for every member of diaspora. And I think that this thing is not over. We have gained something. This will go on in the next years, and I hope it will become better.
Constantine, if we
business in Greece for a minute now, and I want to
Constantine, if we can wrap it up and everyone make their final statements, it would be great.
The Greece in the next 5 years, people say we're going to be in a great position. What your thoughts are? Your thoughts are, gentlemen. Let's start with Lou, Mr. Raptakis.
Well, look, Greece can become a very great nation, but it's going to take a lot of work. We've got a lot of issues to concern. We've also got geopolitical issues that are problematic with Greece's neighbor, Turkey. With the Biden administration, hopefully we see some continuation of the past administration, but even a stronger voice. That's number one, the political issues, the geopolitical issues. You've got the energy issues, where energy is going to play a key role. You've got what we just discussed, the investing in Greece, the bureaucracy. But I'll be very skeptical. Look, things have to get better, put it that way. And with all these forces coming together in a correct way, it has to be a partnership, number one, because if it's not, we're going to go back to square one. That means with everybody involved. And that's my concern. I think basically there's good and bad, but to move forward, there has to be give and take. I think that's very important. And Lukatsos brought up a good point where the diaspora has to be respected, whether it's the diaspora in the United States or Australia or Canada or France or whatever. And that's going to be the strong message that has to be moved forward to the decision makers in Greece.
Thank you, Lou. Dimitri.
I believe that we are going to go back to recession. Not only Greece, I'm talking about Europe, more or less, but the debt of Greece today is about 205%. When we get to the millennium, before, 10 years before, we were at 120, 160, I don't remember. Europe is being hurt deeply in the COVID, and even in the tourism today, we see it and we know it. Starting this year, the problem is not the vaccine or the whatever, is financial. People, they don't have money to travel. People have less money because they stayed home. Businesses are down. So I believe the 5 next years for me, they're going to be difficult.
Yanni, in your field, cybersecurity is on the rise. We see attacks all over the place. Can Greece take advantage of some of this? But also, overall, Greece as a country, what do you see?
Yeah, in general, not cybersecurity, but in general, the digital market, we see that it's climbing in a very steep hill, and I think that this will go on. We don't have a choice. The world doesn't have a choice on that. On the Greece side and the Europe side, I know Dimitri knows much more than me on the subject, but I hope that we will have a bounce back. But to tell you the truth, to be honest, I don't care. and what I mean with that is that I have built a company within the deep recession, and I know that I have to focus on providing quality stuff. I know that I can find quality people in Greece, and I can do business all over the world. The recession cannot be all around the world. There should be a market somewhere that is on the rise. And this is why also I don't care about the stability so much on the area. I only care that, I can foresee for the next couple of years what I should pay for taxes. I know it may sound radical to you, but this is the way I see it. If we work, we get paid. If we don't, we end up with nothing.
Thank you, Yanni. Kyriako.
Well, I'm not an economist, but I think from what I read and what I understand, that the globe is going towards a new situation where debt is not as important as it used to be. I think that Keynes is taking over once again. I think that this is happening also in the United States with Biden administration. He has announced huge projects with public spending.
Infrastructure, yeah.
The same happened also in Europe for the first time after 2005, 2006, 2008. Greece is going to receive a lot of money that has never received before, something like 75 billion euros in the next 4 or 5 years. So I believe that at least mid-term, the situation will not be worse, it will be better. I don't know what the implications and what would happen 10 or 15 years later when we'll have to pay for the money we are getting now. But I think that mid-term, in the next 5-10 years, the economy in Greece will be better. And as far as Greek economy and doing investment in Greece is concerned, I think that Greece now is a good place to do investments, and this is shown in the numbers that I told you before, and it is shown also by the interest that is expressed by various companies, especially in the field of knowledge. I'm not saying technology, because it is not only technology. It's not only IT, it is technology in general. Greece can become an R&D center.
Thank you, Kyriako, and thank you, everybody. Dimitri, Yanni, and Lou. Back to Lou Katsos.
Thank you all for this, Constantine, for this fantastic event, fantastic moderation, and to the panelists for, some very interesting conversations that we had, quite frankly. And we have to continue, obviously, to do this, Constantine, because obviously it's becoming very interesting. In terms of what I see, but by just listening to everyone, I do have a positive feeling in terms of at least Greece being at the crossroads. But I also see a tremendous danger in what was brought up also by Dimitri, and governments, quite frankly, forgetting about who put them in power to begin with. In other words, forgetting about the electorate or the people who put them in the voting. And I agree with Dimitri that you have to bypass some of these things. In terms of the diaspora, what I'm getting out of the conversation also, and what I'm feeling, at least in the United States, I don't know about the other continents or countries, but the diaspora is getting very tired, and quite frankly is going to take a more positive aspect of being involved in the Hellenic Republic. In particular, they're ticked off, is what I'm gathering, quite frankly, by the diaspora, and the treatment of the diaspora by the Hellenic government and its politicians. So I see a big change coming, because we have to take into account or understand, obviously you don't know what's the percentage or how many people they're actually self-identify as being Hellenic people, but there's a lot of them. There's millions of them, actually. They've been silent for many years, but they're getting very angry. In terms of voting, when someone tries to even get a passport, a Greek passport, within the law, and it takes them 10 years or so, and you hear these horror stories, then it's a serious problem. It's telling you that people do not want to bring you in. So you have to now bring yourself in, to Dimitri's point. I'd like to thank everybody who was on the panel. I'd like to thank the audience, and I'd like you to join us for our next event, which is going to be on June 13th, and it's called the Hellenic Revival Architecture in an Age of Revolution. I will introduce and moderate the panel, and we're going to have the distinguished panel will include architect, lecturer, artist, John Fotiadis, and Sarandis Zafiropoulos, Emeritus Professor of Architecture and Urban Design from the School of Architecture at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. During this panel discussion, we will discuss what the Hellenic Revival Architecture is, its history and characteristics, and focus through examples on Hellenic Revival Architecture, particularly in Hellas and in the United States, when it reached its peak popularity from 1825 to 1860. Thank you, gentlemen. We have to continue this discussion. And to the audience, tune in for the next event. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Everyone.
Thanks a lot.